Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Man, it's been a while since I uploaded a video, but I'm back for now. So I think we all know that the Saw movies are quite important to this channel, and one thing we haven't really discussed in detail yet are the absolutely crazy endings that we usually got from them. While the Saw films are probably most well known for their intense violence, which I always have to censor out, they're also notorious for having a ton of flashbacks as well as massive twist endings that redefine the entire story. Now these twists don't exclusively happen at the end, occasionally we get a few big reveals in the middle of the story. So today I thought it would be fun to take a look at some of the biggest twists in the Saw franchise. I will say that I do favor the twists from the earlier movies because the fact that they kept doing these insane reveals in every movie sort of lessened their impact after a while. By the seventh movie, you're pretty much expecting the unexpected, so it doesn't really stun you that much anymore. There will of course be a ton of spoilers in this video, but let's get started. So one of my favorite twists from the entire franchise is one that was sort of expected, but it was still really fun, and it changes a lot about all the previous films. In Saw 3D, which was the final chapter of the main series, one character makes a somewhat unexpected return. I'm talking of course about Lawrence Gordon. In Saw 1, his fate is sort of unknown. He cuts off his foot to get out of the chains and escapes the torture dungeon he's locked in, while Adam, the other guy he's in there with, is left behind. But we don't really know what happens afterwards. Well, at the beginning of Saw 3D, we already get a glimpse. Dr. Gordon crawls through the hallways outside the dungeon and makes his way to a steaming hot pipe. There he seals his wound shut by putting his leg stump on it. Later on, we meet the main protagonist, Bobby, who will go through all the traps in Saw 3D. He lied about being a Jigsaw victim so that he could sell a bunch of books. Great idea. Bobby then has a meeting with other Jigsaw survivors, where at the end Lawrence makes a noteworthy appearance.
How grateful we are to be part of your promotional DVD.
Okay, so he still has his leg, and it didn't completely rot off from the 1,000 diseases he probably got from using a dirty saw blade. So that's the good news. But he's acting really suspicious. Well, at the very end of the movie, it's revealed that he was one of Jigsaw's apprentices the whole time. After the first movie, John Kramer eventually took care of him until he was well again. Well enough, I guess. And from there on, Lawrence assisted in Kramer's operations. Like in Saw 2, he put the key behind the police informant's eye, since he's a doctor. What's definitely crazy about this is that I believe it initially came from a fan theory that somebody came up with around the time of the second movie. Somebody noted that the dark person in the video from Saw 2 had a limp, which Lawrence would obviously have because of his missing foot. Also, the surgical element pointed to that a doctor did this. At the end of Saw 3D, we get a pretty satisfying ending as Lawrence dramatically takes off his pig mask after subduing Hoffman.
What the fuck?
He then kidnaps him and leaves him to die in the same torture dungeon where he initially was. By the way, these other dudes helping him, apparently it's the two Chads from the Love Triangle trap. You know, pre-pandemic Logan Paul and the other guy. I think that was a fun ending to the Saw movies. Now there was a different twist in the Saw movies that I definitely remember. I was really caught by surprise the first time I watched it, and by the time I reviewed all the movies for the channel I actually forgot about it, so I was kind of shocked the second time. And it has to do with Amanda's backstory. Now, Amanda is sort of a strange character because with each movie that she's in, her story, or what we think is her backstory, always changes significantly. From initially being just a victim of Jigsaw in the first movie, to seemingly being in a trap a second time, to being the secret accomplice, to then really being tested again in Saw 3, it takes us a while to figure out who she really is. And just when we sort of think that we know her, everything changes in Saw 6. So there's this one character in Saw 4, called Cecil. He's a low-level thug. I mean, he's like lifting $5 little statues from a street fair. We're talking low here. So it's revealed that this pea-brain killed John Kramer's child as he slammed the door on a pregnant woman's belly during a robbery. This woman, of course, being Jill, John's betrothed at the time. We see all of that in Saw 4. But in Saw 6, we get an addition to that flashback that reveals even more. It turns out that Amanda was there during the night, encouraging Cecil to break in. This drastically changes how we view the relationship between John and Amanda, which is very important. It also changes the ending of Saw 3. There, Amanda shoots Lynn, who is slow-ass Jeff's wife. At first we think it's because Amanda is sort of upset and jealous about how Lynn is spending time with John, but then we find out that Hoffman ordered her to do so in a letter, telling Amanda that if she doesn't kill Lynn, Hoffman would reveal that secret of hers, her relationship with Cecil. This definitely gave a whole other definition to the relationship between all these characters. Man, this series was a trip. Remember the flashbacks within other flashbacks? Good times, man. Now, one of the biggest and arguably also meanest twists was probably in Saw 2. There the main character is Detective Eric Matthews, who's kind of a shitty dad. Well, not necessarily, but basically the relationship with his kid is not that good. But John is nice enough to repair their relationship by testing his kid and making Eric fight for him, therefore proving his love. How nice of John. So Eric's kid is in a house and slowly being poisoned while he goes through a bunch of traps. Eric himself then interrogates John Kramer in his lair in order to find out where his son is while watching the game on a bunch of monitors. John Kramer states that the kid is in a safe place and that all Eric has to do is just wait in the lair. But what comes as quite as a surprise is that John was talking in literal terms. Eric and most of the audience thinks that John wants Eric to stay there so that he can keep talking to him about his twisted morals and blah 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 and such and such. I mean, John keeps talking about like who deserves to live and die and all of that, while Detective Matthews is worried sick about his kid. Eventually they find out where this house is, and Detective Matthews rushes over there. But once he arrives, it's revealed that all of the footage he had seen on the monitors with his son going through the traps is a recording. Everything in the house already happened, and Eric's kid is in a safe in Kramer's lair. He's literally in a safe place. Meanwhile, Eric gets kidnapped and goes through a test in a later movie. I will say that I knew that this was happening because the ending was pretty notoriously well known for being really twisty, and Saw 2 in general had some incredibly nasty traps, so I had already heard a lot of people discussing the movie and the ending before I ever watched the film. But let me know if it got to you, or if you saw it coming from a mile away. Another plot twist that really got me was in Saw 6, again. And by the way, if I see everyone typing, "Oh, I saw this coming from the start," no you didn't, you're a total liar. So Saw 6 was really going for some social commentary by making the main person undergoing the tests an insurance executive. This was around the time with the whole pre-existing condition thing.
You had oral surgery to remove a cyst from your jaw.
This is absurd. I have heart disease. It has nothing to do with some oral surgery I had 30 years ago.
So Umbrella insurance employee William Easton denied insurance coverage for John Kramer. Basically, John wanted to undergo some controversial experimental treatment for his cancer, but it was denied by William Easton, or Mr. E, as his co-workers call him. That's what I called my English teacher back in high school. Anyway, Mr. E, through the events of Saw 6, was abducted and went through a series of traps. And he's told in the beginning that if he doesn't make it through to the final trap in time, his family would be killed. Then we occasionally switch between following Mr. E and this mother and her son, played by Roderick Heffley, the original Roderick Heffley, not the replacement one. It's clearly insinuated that this is Mr. E's family, but it's only towards the very end that we find out that this is actually the family of another man, another guy who was also denied coverage by Mr. E. It sounds like I'm saying mystery. Well, anyway, Mr. E's family is actually just his sister, a journalist investigating the Jigsaw killings. She's like in a room across Roderick. The ending is also pretty wild. The other family is asked if they can forgive Mr. Easton for denying the father coverage, which then led to his death. And even though the mother says that she can kill Mr. Easton, Roderick decides that he can't forgive him and kills him by flipping a switch on a trap that pierces William's body with a bunch of syringes and injects him with a dangerous acid. Man, Roderick's pranks are slowly getting out of hand. Now, of course, this list would not be complete without including the obvious pick, the MVP of this list, the original Saw. The first Saw movie had a number of twists and turns that really propelled the story forward. It needed that. There we of course follow Lawrence and Adam as they're stuck in a torture dungeon. They're chained up and there is a seemingly dead man in there with them. You know this. So in the end it's revealed that the man lying on the floor is not dead at all. He was just pretending. He's also one of Dr. Gordon's patients, John Kramer. Adam even almost shoots and kills John in the end, but is electrocuted and left to die in the room. I remember when I watched this for the first time, I was with two friends at the time, and once this happened, I was so confused. I mean, that's how hard the ending hit. I mean, I didn't even understand it at first. I was thinking like, wait, is he coming back from the dead? Is he like a zombie? What the hell is going on? It took me a while to understand that, like, oh, he's pretending to be dead. Because for a horror movie ending, it's definitely a little bit more eccentric. Anyway, those were, in my opinion, the biggest twists in the franchise. Let me know which ones you would have included, and I might do a part 2. As always, I really hope you liked it, and that I get to see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.